Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time to have a look at some more stuff they're doing for D-Day. Usually what they do is a D-Day pack which has a bunch of vehicles in it, but this time they're doing vehicles bringing back for GE. So they're bringing back the Achilles, the Stuart VI, the P-47M, and also the Typhoon Mk.1B. So we'll have a look at all of them in the game, and I'll give my opinions. Also, if you want to buy GE or anything on the store, make sure to use the partner code in the description, so you can get discounts, and also support the channel, and also get the decal in the game. Let's get into those vehicles. So to start off with, we have the Typhoon Mk.1B. Now, the Typhoon Mk.1B is very similar to a vehicle that is already in the tech tree, which is, of course, the standard Typhoon Mk.1B late. The difference between them is the engine. This one has a Napier Sabre 2 with 2,197 horsepower, whereas the Mk.1B has the Napier Sabre 2A, which only has 1,995 horsepower. So that's the main difference between them. Does it make a huge difference? I mean, a little bit of a difference. The standard tech tree one is better, but overall, I wouldn't say it's hugely different, especially in the modes to use it in. The Typhoon Mk.1B is pretty good in ground. In air, realistic, I'd say it isn't great. In air arcade, it's pretty good because of the Hispanos, and in naval, once again, it's alright. I think there are better options, like the Hellcat, for example, for the British with the torpedo. The Typhoon Mk.1B, the major issue with it, especially in realistic, is at high speeds, which is where you kind of want to use this thing. The vehicle locks up pretty hard, so the tail completely above certain speeds just doesn't really like to maneuver, and that makes it quite hard to use. So in ground realistic, where you're generally not going those speeds, generally you're going a little bit slower, it's a little bit easier to use, basically, because you can use the bombs, the two 1,000-pounders, hit a target, which is usually guaranteed, and then dogfight with it. Also, the Hispanos, especially with ground target belts, have quite a lot of penetration, and at 4.3 you run into a lot of vehicles that you can top down. Also, with the radiator changes coming in, you don't even have to hit an engine or penetrate a turret anymore to make these guns useful in ground, so that's where that will work very well. So as a CAS element in ground realistic, I actually think it works pretty well. And nowadays, at 4.3, the British do have quite an interesting lineup. The Istavak, the Concept 3, which I still think is very under-tiered, and also the Churchill NA-75. You also have a pretty decent 4.7 lineup with the Firefly, the Churchill, and the Avenger, and then also you can bring along a bunch of premiums, but the Typhoon would fit in that lineup as well. If you are more of an air realistic player, I'd probably say no to this one, just because of that lockup issue, but if you're a naval or ground player, you can see its use as a CAS element. The other British vehicle is the Achilles of the 65 Regiment. This one is okay, I suppose. Basically what it is it's an M10 with the 17-pounder instead of the standard 76. So it has more penetration, but it doesn't do as much damage on each of the hits. It is sat at 3.3 and also at rank 3, so it's available to do all your dailies and also specials, which is super nice. So you can kind of drag up all of the other vehicles, such as the Churchill Mark 1, the Cromwell, and also the Achilles and the Sark, all up to rank 3, meaning that you can do all of your challenges with it. Even if you don't spawn in this, all you have to do is click to spawn it and then actually spawn something else. For some reason that still works. So the vehicle has good gun depression, you know, it has okay reload for the 17-pounder, and overall its mobility is good, and its armor is trolley. I think that's probably the way to put it. This gun shield will just ricochet shots, it just shouldn't, and then this upper glacis, especially if you hit the tracks with that additional armor, can stop rounds coming in as well, which is nice. The main issue with this vehicle, and the reason why I personally don't like it as much, is the simple fact that the targeting speed on the gun is horrific. Even with a good crew, even with everything like that, the targeting speed is 3.8 degrees per second. Its horizontal speed is 3.8, its vertical is 3.4. So in order to get the gun on the target, you actually have to move the chassis and also hope your suspension doesn't go a little bit crazy. Holding corners or holding areas, it's very good. good at. But at the same time, you know, if you're trying to be aggressive with it, or if you're trying to do anything like that, then you can't. Because it's labeled as a tank destroyer as well, it doesn't get any artillery, and that sucks. It does get a 50 cal though, which is quite good, and of course all the standard 17-pounder shells. It just doesn't get the APDS that a lot of other vehicles get. Is it a good vehicle? Yeah, it's alright, but it just has a few downsides which, for me, make it annoying to play. The targeting speed, and also the fact that you have to first spawn in it. Nowadays, CAS is incredibly prevalent pretty much at every tier. So that means that with the Achilles, you can get easily top down because it is open top. So if you use this as a second or third spawn vehicle, you are going to get either overpressured by rockets or bombs, or somebody's just going to shoot you with their general cannons or machine guns from the air. So you have to use this as a first spawn, otherwise, you know, it's going to be a bit rough. What I would say is give the Achilles and the Tech Tree a go, and if you enjoy this, or if you enjoy the M10, then you'll enjoy this one. But just understand, this vehicle does have some pretty serious downsides. The next vehicle is the Stuart VI of the 5th Canadians. Now, this is basically just a standard M5A1, but for Canada. It does get some unique decals, you can see here and here. And then also, there's another one somewhere, which I can't remember where it is. It's probably on the booty somewhere. But basically, this is just a copy of the M5A1. So, if you've never played the M5A1, it's a fantastic vehicle. Super mobile, has a stabilizer on the gun as well, which means that you can generally get the first shot off, even at this tier. Has, you know, a decent penning round. Also, just can rapid fire shots over and over again, and also, you know, has the AP so it can pen most stuff it faces. And if you run in stuff that you can't pen, stuff like T-34, stuff like KVs, if you get unlucky and up-tiered, you do have artillery, and also since it's a scouter rank 2, you have the scouting as well. This one is one of those vehicles that I find absolutely fantastic and super fun to play. Also, if you were lucky enough to get the TD Stuarts, you can actually run a 3 Stuart lineup if you want. You can also put in the Lee, which can be quite fun, and also the M16 MGMC for a little bit of AA support. Unfortunately, they moved up the M4 A3105, but I think we can all agree that should have gone up a long time ago. So the lineup's a little bit worse, but you're still carried by some very good vehicles here, which make a very good rank 2 lineup. Since it's rank 2, it means that you can do the first daily, but not the second, and that kind of sucks. But apart from that, you know, it's not too bad. The armor's not great, but you're not really relying on the armor. You're relying on the mobility of the vehicle, the scouting, and also the gun to put you in good graces. It does also have some 7.62s, but obviously they're not going to do too much. And all I really have to do is kind of show the good old service record, just to show you how much fun I have in these machines, and also how good they pretty much are. The standard M5A1, 80% win rate, plus 200 KD. The Stuart VI, 78% win rate, plus 130 KD. I think these type of stats kind of pretty much speak for themselves at the end of the day on how fun these machines are in this lineup. And whenever I have like whenever I used to have like a decal to do back in the day for America, whereas I get first places or get 2000s, I would play this lineup. You also have stuff like the P40F and also the P36G you can bring along, which are fantastic additions. So this lineup just works incredibly well together. You have some other options as well, like the under-tiered Corsair, which is insanely good, especially since it gets a 1000-pounder, and once again, 50 cals that can pen most German tanks above them. So a very good purchase, this one. Highly recommend it. Super fun and enjoyable to play. The last one is Bostwick's P47M1RE. Now, this is one of the best P47s in the game. There is actually some brothers as well. You have the you have Lenovsky's as well, which come back every so often for Lenovsky's birthday. But Bostwick's is exactly the same as it, and also is very nice. It does have quite a cool camo as well, which should be noted. It also does have a marketplace camo called Balls Out, which is quite fun. So if you're interested in stuff like that, you can obviously get that. It's a pretty nice camo, makes it look a lot more, I suppose you class it as realistic, even though this one is also realistic. But yeah, just to put it there. So the P47M is very good. It has a very powerful engine for the vehicle. This jug has a lot of power, has a lot of armament, and is pretty much what you would expect from a P-47. 850 cals, 3,400 rounds of ammunition. It also can carry two 1000s and one 500 bomb. The way that they drop is the two 1000s together, and then the one 500 by itself, so you can get two bomb drops off, and then you can basically play destroy the AA or go after other things as you go around. I would say that in ground this is very good, and also in naval it's also very good. In air it is also incredibly good, but requires a specific playstyle, and also at the BR of 5.7 it's not exactly like a varied experience when you play air realistic. Basically it's Ju-288s and then whatever rabble of Focke-Wulfs and Bf-109s kind of follow them in. So the P-47 can be really good in that lineup because you can go high and then just annihilate stuff as you come down, but also at the same time understand that it isn't exactly too fun to do. So if you're picking this thing up, I think you pick it up for the 5.7 lineup for America, which is an incredibly fun lineup, by the way, with the two Hellcats and then also the M36B2. You also have some other vehicles that you can bring in as well, like the 5.3s if you feel like it, or the Sherman with the stabilized 76. All of them work incredibly well for the lineup itself. And if you don't have stuff like the 82 or the AM1 or even the standard P-47s, you can bring this thing in as a great CAS element. This one is also a very high recommendation overall. So to recap, the Typhoon's pretty good, but not really in air because of the lockup. The Stuart is a fantastic purchase, so is the P-47M, and the Achilles has issues with it. I do also want to just make sure to look at a few other things for D-Day. So there is the D-Day decal. Make sure to get that by doing this. There's also a bunch of other decals which are going on at the same time. And then also there's the Pages of History event. So make sure to get this one done as well. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Millie Draper, Juan the Panda, Nick R. Kupila, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Merciless Reaper, Orange Tail, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Moxie B. Young, Peter Grayling, Jerry Provolt, Bareen, Alan Hacker, Sem Arslan, Uncle Bean, Derek R. and Lafouche for supporting the channel.